Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the Left of Str8 Show Interviews, the premier podcast that shares the stories of our amazing LGBTQ community and, of course, fantastic straight allies, all from entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and let's start talking. Okay, guys, I am so lucky to have Ben Baur in studio with me today. He's a multifaceted talent in the entertainment industry, known for his work as an actor, writer, director, and producer. He gained significant recognition for portraying Alex in the LGBTQ plus web series Huntington Season, which aired from 2012 to 2015. And in 2015, I was lucky enough to have him for the very first time on the podcast. Since then, I've enjoyed watching Ben continue to be a force in both in front and behind the camera, and watch him marry the love of his life, where he's been traveling extensively lately. Currently, Ben stars in the film There's a Zombie Outside, a meta horror story about a struggling artist whose identity becomes intertwined in the world of cult cinema, leading to have problems distinguishing fact from fiction when he starts to believe he's seeing a monster from his movies right in real life. Can't wait to catch up with my podcast friend, but first, take a look. There. Hello. What am I even doing out here?
But it's you.
Ben Baur, welcome back to the podcast, my friend. It's been a minute and a half. How are you?
It has been a minute. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. This is quite a setup you have. This is very fancy. I like it.
Thank you very much. I mean, you've gone from the days, I think in 2015, it was phone interviews only, where we were having our scratchy phones. Then you were nice enough to come out with Andy to Mickey's in West Hollywood. We got to meet in person for the first time. And then we've had one or two since then. But this is the fanciest we've been so far. So,
I mean, look at you moving on up. It's
I'm learning from my mentors
impressive.
like you and all my fantastic guests. That's all there is to it. I don't have the production value, but we look like it, so that's okay.
You look like it. You fake
How
it till you make it.
Friend? Where are we finding you? You still in New York right now?
I am in New York. Been back a few days. I was just in Palm Springs for a film festival out there, and then before that, Craig and I, my husband, were in Italy for a couple weeks. So it's been a very busy summer.
I have been living vicariously through you. So yeah, you've been all over the place. So thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy man.
Of course.
Well, let's remind my listeners from the past and my new listeners a little bit about your early inspirations. What led you to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been very involved in like the local community theater. Growing up in Albany, Oregon, my family was. There was a joke that there was always a Baur involved with whatever production was going on. If one of us wasn't in it, we had directed it, or were doing props, or working in the ticket booth. So I've always been raised with that sort of like artistic, all hands on deck sensibility. And then, going through high school, I was in every single play that we did, vice president of the drama club my senior year. And yeah, after that, though, I moved to Portland, was going to Portland State University, and had this idea that I was going to get a degree in business. Like, I don't know what I was going to do with that, but but I never really thought that acting was something that I could pursue as a career. Um, but then I met a boy, as one does, and he was moving to LA, and one of his friends was going to this theater school in New York, but they had one in LA, and so I was just like, okay, let's do that instead. So yeah, it's all because of a boy, um, as it tends to be. But then
Exactly.
I moved to LA. I went to this conservatory theater program, and it was kind of, you know, there was no turning back. I have no other discernible skills. So it's kind of like I had to make this work, and still out there, still trying.
There you go. You didn't have that calculator to take the accounting degree on, right? You had to do what
I
came naturally.
mean, Craig works in finance now, and he'll try and talk to me about his day, and like my eyes just glaze over, and I just nod, and I'm just like, yes, yes.
I understand exactly. Well, I love that you were able to, we talked about that because I lived in Portland for 4 years as well. And I remember we
Hmm.
talked a little bit about that. Beautiful city, and Oregon's a beautiful state to live in, but it's a big
Love.
transition. You're all of a sudden a big, big person in a small pond to going to LA and everything. How did you first start finding a tribe in LA? I mean, that's really difficult. Did school help in that a lot or?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, so I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, and you get in tight with those people. You're in class with them all day, every day. And a few of the people that were in my class are still some of my best friends, still some of my collaborators. Tondi and I, my co-creator and co-star of #Adulting, which we talked about before. We met at AMDA. TJ, who directed #Adulting, um, as well as a short film that I wrote a couple years after that. Um, we met there. So yeah, I was very lucky in that sense because I was in class with these people who all kind of had the same drive and ambition that I was going for. So it was very nice. It was very nice to have that.
And how wild is it now? I mean, back then in 2015, everybody was creating these web series and everything, and things were going on because there wasn't really that much work, right? You really had to promote yourself and create these.
Oh
And now
yeah,
with actor strikes and writer strikes and everything, it's back to the same thing. There's only like 3 projects being greenlit a day, it seems like, or a
yeah,
month at a time. How is it
yeah.
strange to come back to this world that we lived in back 9 years ago?
It's so wild to hear you talk about that being 9 years ago. Oh my gosh, where does the time go? Um, no, it, mm, I will say that something that I have really strived for since then, regardless of the strikes and the changes in how the industry is working, something that I've really tried to do is stay in control of the things I can control. Because like I can't
Mm.
control what gets greenlit. I can't control what I get called in for, what they're looking for if I do get an audition. Um, so I really try and make my own stuff with, I remember when Tanya and I sat down and first started talking about making #Adulting, it was my 30th birthday. And I was like, Tanya, we can't screw around anymore. Like we gotta do this. And, that was a few years ago. Um, and, still, I'm still plugging away. I'm still writing, still trying to make it happen for myself because you kind of have to. But I do think one plus side is that it has gotten not cheap to make your own
Right.
stuff, but certain aspects of it have certainly gotten cheaper. Like everyone walks around with a camera nowadays.
Right.
Um, so it's a weird time, but also kind of an exciting time. And the some of the stuff with AI I find terrifying, not just like for the industry, but also just for like everyday life.
Right.
Um, but I read a lot of stuff about people's prognostications about what AI means for the industry. And you have some people who are like, it's going to suck for a little bit, but people are going to realize that the stuff that AI models are churning out are soulless, and there's going to be a real kind of rebirth of that sort of mid-budget indie movie, which is
Right.
what I'm ultimately hoping for. I honestly have been rambling for so long just now that I do not know if I actually answered your question.
No, you did. You were right on it. And no, and I love the stream of consciousness because we need to talk about all those things. I mean, AI. I started doing the studio about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, and the last update 5 or 6 months ago, it has an AI feature for my voice now, and it sounds exactly like me when I type stuff. It scares the hell out of me, Ben.
So
It's like
wild.
crazy. I don't
It's
understand it.
so wild. It's the wild,
Uh,
wild west.
yeah, it's
I don't know
very
what's
strange.
happening.
But the great thing is, especially back in the day when everyone's doing these things, you learned all that collaboration. I mean, you guys were using these friendships and everything to
Oh
who's
yeah.
helping with catering, who's doing the DP, who's doing this. I think it really was a very collaborative time back then. And you've
Mhm.
worked with Michael Verratti a long time since, and you guys are
Oh yeah.
longtime collaborators. That collaboration back in the day has really got to help continue keeping you in the business and helping the business thrive, I think.
Well, I mean, and I'll even take it farther back. Uh, Growing up doing as much community theater as I did, it really is such a sort of all hands on deck environment. And that's something that I don't want to say like pride myself on, but it's something that I definitely bring to the table. Is like there's no job on set that I won't pitch in with, if it means getting the thing made. Um, and that's a work ethic that has definitely helped me uh, in the years since.
Right, I can imagine. You said something about you were reading about AI. I mean, one of the things I love about you and also Kevin McHale's been on the show a few times. You guys are voracious readers. Talk to me about the latest books. What's the big books that I have to be reading these days?
Oh gosh, something that I am reading right now for spooky season is I believe it's called "I Was a Teenage Slasher" by Stephen Graham Jones. He's
Nice.
he's one of my favorite authors right now. He writes a lot of horror stuff, but it's from an incredibly distinct vantage point. He writes a lot about like Native American culture and reservation culture, that
Mm,
it's really really fascinating. And also just his writing of the horror scenes is so like visceral and gross. It's really gross, but it's
I
you
love
know
it.
I I love it. I love spooky. I love it all. Um, no, yeah, I'm honestly trying to think of some of the last books I read, and that's the only one that is coming to mind right
There
now.
you go. Now, are you
Yeah.
like I said, you are a voracious reader. Do you take books with you on vacation, or are you just enjoying do you soak in the atmosphere while you're there?
So I always bring a book on vacation, but it's always it's always debatable whether or not I'm actually going to read it.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot since I have been traveling so much this summer. There's something really interesting about the person you think you are going to be on vacation. And so, like, I'll bring my books in the hopes that I'm a reader on vacation. I'll bring a notebook in case I'm the kind of person who gets inspired and take notes.
Right.
I also pack clothes that I would never wear in my real life. And I'm just like, why did I think being in this foreign place is going to make me the kind of person to wear this like very weird crocheted top? Um, yeah, it's fascinating. No,
That sounds like an
so
upcoming series in and of itself. That's a great character to work on.
right, yeah, it's just really interesting to me.
Do you still like the feel of the pages? Or are you more electronic reader now and use the Kindles and everything?
I mean, as you can see on my bookshelf, I very much I like a physical book.
Yes.
Um, I understand the ease of a Kindle and the transportability, and I understand that now they have like it's some newfangled thing. But no, like the Paperwhite, so it actually looks like you're reading paper and not a computer
Right.
screen. So yeah, I'm sure eventually I'm gonna run out of space on my bookshelf. I mean, that's already been a thing. I've started really going to the library a lot more often,
Mm,
so I don't have to like buy the book.
right.
There is a fly in my apartment, and I think it just zoomed right in front of the camera. So for anyone who's watching this and they see like a black blur, I did not like. I'm not trying to pull anything over on you. There is definitely a fly
It's
around
spooky
here.
season. See, there you go. I
Spooky
love it. What
season,
a
yeah.
transition into that. I mean, your latest product, there's a zombie outside, is playing the film festival circuit now, working with our good friend Michael Varrati, who's been a long time, as I said, collaborator of yours.
Yeah.
Talk about this film. How is this to make? Tell me about the process. I don't think Michael and I talked about this last time. I know he was working on it, but it hasn't
Hmm.
started doing the festival scene. Give me a little background about this movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, Michael and I have worked together a lot. I think I honestly can't count how many short films we've made. At least four. We have at least made four short films, and we worked together on a web series um, during the pandemic, which was a fascinating exercise because it was all done on the computer.
Right,
Like it was all us recording our computer screens, which was weird, but like super cool and felt good to do something artistic during such a bleak period.
right.
But yeah, so we had been working together a ton, and uh, when you're making stuff, you feel a little bit like you have to keep building. It's got to get bigger. It's got to get better. Um, I think there's somewhat of an expectation of that from the audience. Um, so we had made a bunch of short form content, and we're just like, okay, we gotta figure this out. We gotta get a feature under our belt. Um, and the idea for this, I came from Michael's warped mind. Um, I think there was one thing that I may have said that may have colored it at all, and that was when we were trying to figure out how to do it on the cheap. I was like, well, if I play myself, then we don't have to. It can count as like a cameo and not. It falls under different SAG guidelines, so you don't have to pay me. And
Nice.
he was just like, yeah, maybe. Um, and then that does kind of come into fruition in the movie because I do end up playing kind of a version of myself. Um, but I digress. Uh, yeah, so he sent me the script, and I was just like, this is one of the weirdest things I have ever read. And in the hands of anybody else, no, but in the hands of Michael Varrati, absolutely, 100% count me in. Um, and working with Michael so much, we have such a great team of people to go to.
Sure.
Our director of photography, Andrew Sepperly, he shot uh, uh, The Office Is Mine. Uh, he shot uh, Infested Hearts. Like we've worked with him a ton, and he is amazing at making something that you shoot for like a couple $1,000s look like you shot it for a couple $100,000.
Love that.
So yeah, the team was kind of in place. Uh, I was able to scrounge together some money from a friend of mine who has become he's an executive producer on uh, Zombie, and my mom is also an executive producer on Zombie. The two of them gave us a little bit of money, and we were kind of off to the races. It was definitely a difficult shoot because trying to shoot a feature for not a lot of money is
Right.
very hard. Um, and there's also then the fact that like when you do it that way, you're really kind of people are helping you out. They're giving you favors, and so you can't really be too demanding
Right.
of their time and energy. So it took a little while to get it through post, but it was an experience. It was
But it's
super
been
fun
up
to make.
north of San Francisco. It's been down to San Diego. You Cinema Diverse you talked about. How's the
Yeah,
reception been? It sounds like it's been amazing receptions.
it's been really great. It's been really really great. I always have to like when we played in Portland, and that's where most of my family is, and so they were all coming, and I had to be like, okay, I just need I just need to warn you that it's a very weird movie. Like it's very strange. Um, but the people dug it, and like so far I don't I am not aware of any sort of like negative response to it, besides the fact that there are some people who are like, it wasn't really for me. And I'm just like, that's valid. That is totally valid.
Exactly, right.
You don't make art for everyone. You make it for the people who are going to get it and like who need it. So, I think we've had a lot of people who responded really well to it. So it's been very cool.
I've heard great things. I have lots of friends that went to Cinema Diverse for a lot of different projects this year, and I heard some
Nice.
great feedback on it. So, yeah.
Good, good.
Now, how's your identity and your personal journey at all? Does it influence how you choose these roles or what stories you want to tell?
Huh. Um, I mean,
Or are you just a storyteller?
no, I mean, I think there's definitely something to why I choose the stories that I want to tell. Um, oh gosh, that's a big question, Scott. No, like when I'm writing stuff, I write to things that affect me in the moment. So like when I wrote something new, my first short film that I wrote a while back, about a guy who kind of falls in love with his grinder hookup. A lot of that came from a place of shame because I had an ex who I had met in, shall we say, rather scandalous means, um, who who made me like lie and tell people that we had met at Starbucks, and I'm just
Mm,
like that doesn't feel good. So I wanted to write about that feeling a little bit. When Michael and I made The Office Is Mine, that came from a feeling of competition for no reason in like the gay world.
right.
I would see other gay actors on Instagram like booking stuff left and right and like talking about all their auditions and all this stuff. And my reaction to that was very bitchy and catty, and I'm just like, oh, that's gross. Like let's analyze that a little bit. Um, and something that I just finished writing now is about a couple that has been together for a long time, and they can't remember the last time they had sex, just the two of them. And one of them kind of spirals about that and makes it into a giant deal, and the other one's just like, babe, it's our relationship, like that's all that matters. Um, so yeah,
That's an
I
interesting
write
take.
about
Wow.
I write about just what's on my mind. Um, I and also I'm at a place career-wise where it's like, you know, you say choose these roles, and I'm just like, can't really be too choosy right now.
Well, talk about that a bit too. You've taken on such multiple roles in the industry, from writer, director, producing to acting. Are you drawn in a certain direction now by choice or just by the circumstances, the way the industry is right now? But talk about what you're gravitating towards these
No, I
days.
mean, 100%. What I want to do is audition for something, book it, show up on set, and act. Like that is very much what I want to do.
Right.
So much of the writing and, you know, behind the scenes stuff more came from a place of necessity. I didn't want to wait for permission, so I scrounged together what resources I had and was like, okay, well, you know, we got to do this ourselves then. Um, so I, you know, I'm still auditioning. I'm still trying to just show up on set, say my lines, and go home, and as opposed to worrying about like paperwork and schedules and
Right.
all that fun stuff.
All of the accoutrements that goes with the business,
Oh,
of course.
God bless
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
And your characters, a lot of them have been openly out and proud and everything. Talk about how you see the representation of LGBTQ plus characters developing. Are they evolving more? Are we at the same place? Are we going backwards? What do you think?
I 100% think it's evolving, and has evolved very much. You know, when I was growing up, the stories that you were getting were tragedies or, you know, coming out stories or coming of age stories. And those are all good and valid and needed. Um, but we have reached a part as far as a point as far as representation where we're able to tell more varied stories, more nuanced stories.
Right.
That's not about the pain of LGBTQ plus life, but we can tell stories of joy. We can tell stories of embarrassment. You know, we can run the whole spectrum besides just coming out is hard. Being gay is hard.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, we've 100% evolved. I think there's still, as far as like more mainstream outlets, I think there's definitely work that can be done.
Right.
Um, but you know, I like the direction things are going.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, any advice you'd give to any inspiring filmmakers or actors out there right now in the state of the world? I mean, I know it's
Oh
tough because
God.
things change on a dime, but what's your, with these worldly experiences you've had, tell me about what you recommend these days.
Oh God. I mean, you know, like I said before, I think try and maintain control of the things you can. Um, so much of this is out of your control. Period.
Right.
Um, so there's something to be said about really accepting that, but also just living a good life. I think is so important, and enjoying the world outside of filmmaking. Um, that's something that I've been really leaning into this last year, you know, especially as we were finishing up Zombie. Wasn't sure where anything was going during the strikes, after the strikes. Uh, yeah, just really embracing life and like making my day to day as enjoyable as possible.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Very nice. All right, and last question. Reflecting on your career so far, talk to me about what are you most proud of and what are your goals for yourself in the future?
Oh man, what am I most proud of?
Either in
Um,
yourself as an evolution as a creative or it could be a role, whatever. But what are your goals for the future?
I'm pretty proud of the things that I have produced. I think that pivoting that way and not just getting sucked into like the woe is me of sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. The fact that I was able to make opportunities for myself and continue to do so. I am really proud of myself for that.
You should be. What are your goals? Any goals you have, short term, long term?
Yeah, I mean, so short term, I just finished writing a new short film with a friend of mine, and we are going to be hopefully shooting that in January. So it's nice to have a project to look forward to. And then in the more long-term goals, because I have not done this yet, there are a few ideas that I am working on to write my first feature. Well, two of them are definitely features, and then one I can't tell if it wants to be a feature or a pilot. So trying to figure that out, ruminating. But yeah, I that's all I can really focus on. I can't set goals about like booking jobs. I have no
Right.
control over if I'm going to get a call for an audition. So
There you
just
go.
yeah, just going to keep on keeping on.
I can't wait to keep up on the journey, following the journey along. I love having you back on the show, Ben. Remind everyone where they can follow you on social media. And you have a great website that kind of shows a lot of your work as well. Let them know where they
Oh,
can
thank
find those.
you. Yeah, my website is just benbaur.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at Ben J. Baur.
Great. Stay on the line for me, Ben. Be sure to be on the lookout for the film. There's a zombie outside. We appreciate you tuning in every week to Left of Str8 Show interviews. We'll see you next time, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website for contests and other news and information. See you next week.